looking for a house with no walls or no whispers, no hiding places, no secret sister. Been looking for a house that won't shelter a lie, no tear-stained past or reason to cry. I wanna live, live, live.
This is Empowering Women Everywhere. I'm your host, Nan Gill, and today our guests are Sarah Womer and Atticus Lanigan from Zero to Go. You want to tell us a little bit about Zero to Go and how you got started, guys?
Sure. Well, I was living in Beacon, and I wanted to get involved in the environmental world, and I just jumped in. The thing that I wanted to do was try to get styrofoam out of Beacon, and I sat down with some friends and we came up with this little group called Zero to Go, and we went to all the restaurants to try to see if they'd be willing to switch to recyclable alternative,
Right.
unlike
That's
styrofoam.
a big thing. There's a lot
It's
of
big.
organizations that still use the styrofoam.
Yeah, and it's
What's
really
the
troubling.
half-life? Does anybody know the half-life of styrofoam?
They say, well, it breaks down in 1,000 years or so. We don't actually really know. And we feel that styrofoam's unacceptable, and we want to see it not be part of the waste stream anymore,
Right.
because there's so many alternatives that are recyclable and reusable, which is way better. So I guess my story is kind of long, but I'll keep it short.
You can make it long.
Yeah.
Go on, go for it.
Say whatever you want.
So getting styrofoam out of Beacon was very hard to do, and this was years ago now. My gosh, when was this? Like 7 years ago or so? Maybe
I
longer.
can tell you're young. 7 years to me is not long at all.
So much happened so fast. Well, the price difference was pretty serious for a paper cup compared to a styrofoam cup. It was like a penny for a styrofoam cup, and then 10 cents for a paper cup.
Oh my goodness.
Now the prices have dropped down quite a bit. It's much more even. But long story short, it was very challenging, and I moved on to something else. And I'm still thinking about how to get styrofoam out of Beacon, although culturally we've changed and opened up, and I think that a lot of restaurants are not using it anymore because it's just not a great option, and the public doesn't want to see it, and they know it's not recyclable, and they expect better.
Well,
In
a
some
good thing
places.
to do is if you go to a restaurant and they give you a styrofoam takeout, you could always ask them to please use something that's recyclable.
Yes,
And
that's
that will
exactly
make
right.
a big difference because you're their customer.
Right. I was told that that's really where it has to start, where the customers have to demand a different product
Right.
in order for it to get a shop owner or a restaurant owner to actually make a difference in what they're ordering.
Right.
I started handling electronic waste at the county. The county had a couple electronic waste drives where you can bring a broken computer or anything, and there was only 4 a year in Poughkeepsie, which is near us, and then 4 a year in other parts of the county. And I thought that wasn't enough. There should be somewhere you can bring broken electronics every day. So I organized a few more drives and I did them in Beacon, so anybody from anywhere could come. And I publicized them, and it was really great. And at the time, I was learning a lot about how material is handled. There's certifications for electronics recyclers to show how much they care about having a decent workplace and not having materials being dismantled in unsafe conditions, especially overseas where there aren't as many requirements for labor laws. And this certification was called e-Stewards, and my electronics recycling drives had these better materials handlers that had this e-Steward
Yeah, you make
certification.
sure that they had e-certification.
Exactly, and the
Right.
public really liked to hear that, so they felt safe knowing that this stuff wasn't going to get burned in big piles, and the workers breathing in all of those toxic fumes, and broken stuff ending up in rivers and lakes in developing countries. So that was
Right.
really important, and I learned a lot. And during that time, I started Zero to Go as an LLC, and I became a B Corporation, which means B is for benefit. and we get audited to show the world that we care about 3 big things: the environment, our people, and we also care about profits too. We're a for-profit company,
Okay.
but we're rated on having, the people on the planet are at our top line. That really matters a lot to us. So from there, the electronics recycling industry changed a lot, and I turned my attention to the events that were all over Beacon and still are. Beacon is a small town of 15,000, and there's about 20 to 30 events every year in Beacon, from parades to festivals, and only 3 or 4 of them were recycling at the time. And I'm talking about thousands of people all over Main Street and just garbage cans overflowing, bees in the soda cans, no recycling, diapers, dog poop. It was just a total mess.
Yeah.
And I wasn't proud of our city. I thought that we could do way better.
Now, if somebody is outside of the Hudson Valley, say they're in Manhattan, and they want to recycle, do you do events down there as well?
We have, yeah.
Yeah.
We did a couple events right next to Pier 84 or on Pier 84.
Yeah, I think it was Pier 84.
Yeah, right next to the Intrepid, the big ship down there.
Okay, so you did a recycling event down there.
Well, yeah, it was a zero waste event, so we composted and recycled. And the garbage was divided into 3 ways. So
Okay, so it's recyclables like cans and bottles,
Mhm.
and then you do compost,
yes,
and compost consists of what?
food scraps, and then also if there's compostable products that the vendors bring or the caterers bring, like compostable plates and utensils and things like that, usually made up of some sort of organic material, or
Right.
always made from that. So
Okay, and then the third thing is what you have to put in the landfill.
right, and usually we don't put very much. If an event is done right, we do our job, and the pre-planning stage is done right, then, or the planning stage is done right, then there's very little garbage.
Right. So I know that I have a lot of friends in Manhattan, and very few of them recycle.
Mm.
So, and it's such a large population area. If, have you gotten yourself certified as a women business enterprise?
I came so close to finishing that paperwork last May, and
Okay.
I missed the deadline. And
There's
the whole
no
application
deadline.
got deleted.
Oh,
Yeah, well, there's a federal and a state certification. I was going
Right.
for the state certification at the time, and it's a really massive but very worthwhile application process where you have to upload all kinds of documentation, and I didn't finish it on time, and they just deleted it from the server. So I need to redo it because
you
I
know
think it
there
would
is
open
help for that.
opportunities. Yes, I was getting help for it.
okay. So next year you're going to do it, right? Because
We
they
should do
have,
it.
let me tell you, they have a lot of events that are hosted down in the Manhattan.
Hmm.
And they have a certain percentage that have to be done by women-owned
Mm.
enterprises. And for you to get involved down there would be a great thing.
It would be. We don't even know what kind of opportunities would come our way if we were to finish this paperwork. We really love to do
Okay.
it and see what kind of doors it opens.
Cool.
Opportunities are wonderful, and the city has so much opportunity for handling events. Here in the Hudson Valley, we do a range of 25 or so events a year. And just to back up, we have zero waste stations where educators stand behind the bins for compost, recycling, and landfill and explain to the public what goes where, like Atticus described, the 3 kinds.
Right.
And our educators are really passionate persons who care about the environment, and they don't mind getting their hands dirty, and they're there to help the public feel empowered about what is going in the recycle and compost bin, and just understanding waste a little bit. We know that it's a great opportunity to talk to the public and get them thinking about waste in a different way that they maybe never have before.
Usually when people approach a station, they either feel sheepish because they don't know where it goes, or they just want to get rid of the garbage so quickly, and we're just standing there waiting to tell them.
How to do it.
Yeah. and there's a little conflict, but mostly people want to learn. It's actually nice to see how many people want to learn.
So how did you get involved, Atticus?
Well, I started helping Sarah in 2013, and it was on a volunteer basis. And then as the events portion grew, I think Sarah decided that she needed help with that, and then brought me in to manage the events. And basically just kind of learned a lot of the business. And then also while Sarah started the compost program, which we haven't really talked about a lot yet, but so I sort of took over managing, getting the events, dealing with customers, and then being there at the events. And then while Sarah was, well, you want to tell her what the compost program is?
Yeah, so we raised $20,000 on Kickstarter to get this compost pickup program happening in Beacon, using these cargo bicycles that have an electric assist motor to help us haul hundreds of pounds. We've actually been able to haul 1,000 pounds at once with these bikes. And it's a big tricycle, and you can see photos of it at zerotogo.org, and also all over our Instagram and Facebook, which is Zero to Go. You can find it. And the bike picks up material from restaurants and also homes.
Okay.
The numbers that I gave you are changing all the time for the residential and business community. We're growing it, and we're really excited to have the opportunity to work in Beacon and help residents get their organic material sent to the compost. It's said that 40% of our waste that we throw away every day is compostable. So that's a really big amount.
That's big. Because it can go back into growing more food.
One of the things that people make a mistake on is they'll say, you know, if there's a piece of paper or even food, and they'll say, well, what difference does it make if it goes in a landfill because it's biodegradable? But it lets off methane gas most of the time. And just because it's sitting in a landfill doesn't mean that it's degrading in a way that is actually good for the environment. It's making pollution. Whereas if you are composting it, there's no pollution, and it's actually making dirt, which is something that feeds life.
Now, how are the compost centers that you have set up?
We have one facility in Dutchess County where we're based, and then we have a facility that we partner with in Ulster County, which is about 35 miles away. We'd love to see more communities take food waste composting on, because we believe that everyone should be composting, or at least planning to compost soon and do their part. So the facility that we work with in Kingston and Ulster County is a municipally operated facility that takes yard waste, and it also takes food waste. In Beacon, where we're based, there's a transfer station that only handles the yard waste, and that's common at a lot of county and municipally operated transfer stations, to only take the leaves and Christmas trees and stuff like this, and they make a kind of compost, and they make mulch, and some people do use it, but we know that if a compost facility that manages food waste and yard waste is done really well, it can create a very high quality, nutrient rich material that is wonderful for farmers. Farmers need it. They budget to spend money on getting this material in, and they depend on it to have healthy, strong crops.
So what number should somebody call if they perhaps want to start or expand on the compost?
If they're in Manhattan, or if they're
Anywhere.
845-202-2651.
Okay. All right. And then your website, what is your website?
zerotogo.org.
Okay.
And also for the Beacon Compost Program, you can go to beaconcompost.com.
Okay. All right. So what would you like to see happen in the next year or 2 years? What would you like? What is your vision for the future?
There's lots of stuff.
Okay.
Well, Sarah mentioned transfer stations, and we would like to see Beacon take on food scraps where they're already composting. So it would make it easier for us to obviously haul the compost. The members of the public could just go there. They wouldn't necessarily have to wait on us to pick it up.
So you actually, somebody could call you and you'll pick up their compost.
Oh, well, actually, our customers, we have a customer base now where they pay us on a monthly basis, and we pick up their compost every week. And then we also have, we're always at the farmers market on Sundays in Beacon, which is pretty big and pretty popular. And people sometimes carry their compost there. We weigh it and dump it, and then they pay by the pound. So yes, we do take people's compost. But if the transfer station was upgraded,
Right.
which really wouldn't take that much,
Right.
because a compost pile really, it's not super labor intensive, and it doesn't take that much equipment to do a pretty amazing job at creating soil. If we were able to do that, then members of the public could go there, and then Beacon would have a much greater chance at being a zero waste city. More and more people would just understand how it all works.
Now, in order to make a compost station into, the regular yard waste compost into something that can take food, what's necessary?
Permit, the right permit.
If you're talking about like a municipal system, but if you're talking about, are you talking about a backyard?
No,
Like
she's talking about a transfer station.
Yeah, the transfer station needs a permit, and they already have one. If they're doing yard waste, all they need to do is amend their permit in New York State to incorporate the food waste, and there probably would be a bit more infrastructure that would be needed,
And more space.
spending.
You need
I think
space.
you have to aerate it or something.
Right, you need. That's good that you said that, because you need aerators that are running through and sending oxygen into the piles. But again, it's a pretty low impact type of machine. It's not. It doesn't. It has to be monitored, but it doesn't have to be manned at all times. And then you need a sifter, I think it's called, right?
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, it's basically filtering. It's, getting the big chunks out, and being the big chunks, a lot of times like a compostable garbage bag will be something that has to be thrown back into the compost pile to be processed again.
Right.
You would need space, and then you'd also need buy-in from the community. I think one of the things is that people, I just read about, for instance, a suburb of Chicago where they want to put commercial composting, and there's been, uproar by the community about what it could smell like. But honestly, compost smells 10 times better than garbage. I've seen it, I've smelled it myself, and I'm sure
Yeah.
she has as well. I like to tell the story how when I toured the compost facility in Kingston, the person who's giving me the tour, who is now on maternity leave, but at the time she was pregnant, and she was having morning sickness during that time, and I felt badly that we were there in the summer, and I was making her go out to the pile, but in fact, she said that the compost smell doesn't bother her, but it's where they're processing garbage that's much worse.
Right.
So, but we would have to get, because you're in a higher density area, you would need neighbors to buy in and understand that,
Right.
this really isn't that much of a change than to what they're used to. So.
Right. Exactly. Instead of bringing it to a garbage dump,
Right, which is worse. I mean,
which is worse, it could be the municipality could have their own compost transfer station.
yes, and it creates jobs, and I think it would make the community feel much better about itself. You know?
Right.
So.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, even now, the garbage on Main Street in Beacon is pretty sad to look
It
at.
is. It's a mess still.
And it's sort of surprising because you have, waste management experts. We're really good at what we do, and hopefully eventually they'll incorporate our principles and what we do into how they manage waste.
So if a municipality or a group of citizens wanted to get together, they could consult you on putting together a compost transfer center?
Yeah, I mean, there would probably be a lot of other people involved too, but sure. We could help a lot with the education portion of it,
Okay.
like how to interact with the public, how to get people interested in it. And one of the best ways really is to have a compost pickup program, because then people are doing it in their households, and so they're experiencing it. And then, the right program is going to tell someone, you diverted, 100 pounds last year of garbage that would have gone into a landfill, and it makes them feel like they made a difference.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
And they also see that their garbage, they don't have to take out their garbage every week or every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks once they start composting with us. And that makes us feel really good. And they feel really good about it too. And then they tell their friends, and that's how it all grows.
Yeah, I mean, how much garbage do you have? I rarely have.
I take out my garbage once a month.
It's
and
like
it's
a
like a little
small
tiny
bag, yeah.
grocery bag.
Small bag.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the other things we do is we have a bag of bags. In New York State, every grocery store needs to take back plastic film bags. So
Right.
we're talking about grocery bags, dry cleaning bags, bread bags, newspaper bags. They just need to be clean and dry. So if you take those out of your garbage, there's just a lot less.
Yeah.
Ziploc bags, you name it. All of that stuff that usually goes in the trash can go in the bag of bags to go to any grocery store, usually near the customer service area.
Okay.
But actually, a lot of people, they keep those bags out and they try to do the right thing by putting them in the recycling. And like in Dutchess County, you can't do that. It actually just causes more trouble for the recycling center in Dutchess County. So if you want the chance for those bags to be recycled, it's better to bring them to the grocery store.
Now, if you use like a Ziploc bag, can that go to the grocery store?
It can. It's recommended that the Ziploc piece is cut off, but if people don't do that, that's okay too.
Okay. All right. So,
I actually think composting is probably more of the future than recycling, because it takes less thought and brain power on your average consumer, who you can compost everything. Trying to decipher what's recyclable and what's not could be based on where you live and what county you're in.
right.
So I think a lot of people end up just saying, screw this, I don't want to do this anymore. So I think composting is much easier and better in the long run.
Also, as we were talking before about the future and like what we see, I'd love to see more stores have bulk buying options. So you can just go and bring your laundry detergent bottle and refill it right there with a big, huge container of laundry detergent that just dispenses out. Things are already done like that at a lot of health food stores and co-ops. And we think that's so wonderful because it reduces waste, and that's one of the best things you can possibly do as well. In addition to, of course, composting, which is really the future of waste management.
Well, there's a store in California called Winco, and they're just big bins of whatever you want to buy, whether it's granola, whether it's nuts, whether it's dried fruit, whether it's rice or whatever, and you just go and you fill up a bag, and and it's much cheaper.
Oh, really?
It's great.
Because you don't have to pay for the packaging.
Great.
It's probably cheaper, it's fresher, it's healthier, and once you get used to bringing your own containers, it's can be even more convenient because you have all your little jars on your counter the way you want them, and everything fits just so.
Right.
It takes a bit of adjustment to live a more conscious lifestyle with reducing how much material you take in and out of your house, but it is really rewarding, and people notice that. Your friends notice it, and I think that's one of the best ways to get people inspired is to just do things a little different, and hopefully people will pay attention and ask some questions and maybe implement some of this into their own lives.
Right. So if you're planning a large event, or you're a not-for-profit agency and you have your yearly events, your yearly golf tournaments, whatever it is, give Sarah and Atticus a call and see what they can do to make your waste zero to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I want to mention one thing that we always talk about. Our best event had 4,500 people. It was an all-day long drinking festival, beer fest. And it went from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and there was a whole bunch of beer vendors and food vendors. There were only 6 bags of trash and 120 bags of compost because we had all of the vendors use compostable products in advance. And we were there at our zero waste stations educating the public, and it was a really amazing day for us and the public, and we can do that with any large-scale event. We just need to plan it with a client.
So everyone's aware of some of the changes that are going on a federal level regarding the Environmental Protection Agency, and some of the cuts that are going to be happening. Is that going to affect you at all?
Well, there's a lot of answers to that, but I feel as though because we don't depend on federal funding or any government funding,
Right.
In one way it probably won't affect us at all. As in terms of a lot of people, I think are disheartened or feeling disheartened because of what's happening,
Right.
and we obviously are offering them a way to make a difference, in a way that where they can basically just say, "Screw you! We don't care about what's happening on the federal level. We're going to do things the right way because we can, and we have this opportunity." So,
Right.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. Locally, people can show their support by joining our program.
and I think the one thing about this is that the more one person just does this a little bit, it just spreads. It spreads like crazy because, like Sarah kind of mentioned, once you, like, if you go over to your friend's house and you see this happening, you're kind of inspired,
Right.
and you also feel a little guilty for not doing it at home. And actually, if you spend enough time, like if you go on a visit with someone and you spend 2 weeks in someone's home and you're composting with them, and you get home, you're going to feel really funny about not doing it. And so it just spreads and spreads. And that's going to be great for making a change. So just because one person is doing it, eventually, like, tons of people who know them will start doing it too.
Now, if somebody in Manhattan or someone in Rockland County or another area wants to have you in to talk to a group about setting up a composting or setting up a recycle, are you available for that?
I always
Yeah.
entertain any opportunity. I mean,
Yeah, we definitely discuss it, and we also know about what's going on in other counties nearby. And if you live in New York City, we can point you to some resources that are there too. We're happy to help spread the information because we really do believe in this.
yeah, and I think there's a couple places now in Westchester because there's a facility in
Yes.
Connecticut, so that does composting,
Right.
commercial composting that accepts food scraps. So Westchester, there are some people who are trying to do.
So they're working on it in
Yes.
Westchester.
Yeah, and anybody, and I always say trash is an infinite resource, and it's never going to go away. Even if we do things better and we preserve or we reduce how much we use, there'll always be trash. So people who are business minded, I think are just absolutely going to start seeing, wow, maybe I can profit from this.
Or
So-
you could make a living while helping the environment.
Exactly.
Exactly. Atticus, do you want to tell us your phone number if anyone wants to get a hold of you?
845-202-2651.
Okay. And what about the website?
It's zerotogo.org and also beaconcompost.com. And we're on Facebook and Instagram under Zero to Go. And it's all spelled out ZEROTOGO.
So everybody like them on Facebook. And friend, what do you do with Instagram? Follow them?
You follow, yeah.
Follow them on Instagram.
Yes.
And Empowering Women Everywhere is a TV show where you can talk about the good work that you're doing in the community. So if you know someone that should be on our show, or maybe you should be on our show, please give us a call at 845-294-7500, or check us out on our website at Empowering Women Everywhere TV. Thank you so much.